programs then, and hopefully others will join. Okay, we're live now, so welcome back everyone to another town hall. And let's see, I'm going to share my screen so we can get some notes. There we go. All right. Let's see. So I have I'm using this I'm using the waiting room today. So Adam, maybe you have experience with this. Now that I'm sharing my screen, am I going to get like a pop-up or something if somebody's in the waiting room that needs to be admitted? I don't know where that would show up.
You should. I honestly, I use Teams primarily for
Okay.
conferencing. I'm less experienced with Zoom.
Okay. Well,
except as a participant.
We'll give it a try, and hopefully I will
You
see.
might on the bottom have, I have to assume you have a multi-monitor setup, but you might on the bottom have a waiting room icon, or on your side tab. You might be able to see alerts there.
I have, you know what, it's in the participants tab, and here comes John, so I'll admit him. And it does show me a little red dot on the toolbar when
there you go,
waiting to be admitted. So that's good to know.
There's probably also a setting that would allow you to up your notification level so you don't miss it. But it might be good to have a room monitor moving forward if we're going to be having a waiting room.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah,
speaker doesn't have to. Yeah,
I think it's just I don't think I would keep doing this indefinitely. I just wanted to be a little cautious this week to see if our troublemakers return. Okay, so we can get going here, starting with action items. First one is just been hanging out for a while for John to write something up about the fiscal sponsorship agreement. Any updates there, John?
No news.
Okay. Excuse me, folks. The next one is for me to revise the email that goes out to new members when they join the hub, and I haven't done that. That's a little bit more time consuming, so I have to kind of think about what to say and what resources to link to, so that's going to have to wait. And then this next one was for me to write up a story about the rather unpleasant experience I've been having with Azure and trying to get support, so that John could try to escalate that. And I didn't do that, but the reason is a good one, because I finally got a hold of somebody. So I'll have an update for you in a short while, but there is finally progress being made there now that I've connected with some actual human beings. I don't have anyone scheduled coming up, but Adam is in touch with a couple of people that might end up providing some guest presentations here, or at least joining us for some special discussions, but nothing confirmed yet. Quick note, next week, I'm going to have to skip the town hall. I tried never to do this, but I have an unavoidable scheduling conflict, and because this is hosted through my Zoom account, I just figure it's probably going to be a bit of a mess if we try to have somebody else jump in and host. So I think we should just skip next week if nobody objects, and we'll regroup the following Friday if everyone's okay with that. So I will try to remember to get into the hub that morning and post a note to remind people that we will not be doing a town hall on the 12th, but just letting you know that now. I'm not tracking the e-NABLE metrics. I'm hoping that somebody might be able to help me with that. And in fact, Sarah and I have a short meeting immediately following this town hall to see where she might be able to help with some of these things. And that could be one of them. We're going to sort that out a little bit later. But as of now, I'm just tracking the fund balance, which is pretty similar to what it was. It actually went up a little bit. I think we have some kind of recurring donations that come in. And so we're at 36,843. And so that's all I have as far as data right now. So we'll take a quick look at these posts from the hub, and then we'll get into some of our discussion topics. This first one, and thank you, Sarah, for putting these together. It's really a big time saver. Rishab says, can anyone recommend a good source of downloadable 3D designs for sensory toys for kids with disabilities? Now, I don't even know if I know what that means. Adam, can you help us here? What are sensory toys?
Yeah, I could speak to that, but I bet Tainara can speak to it better.
I was just going to say, sorry, I forgot that we have Tainara with us. Please,
yeah,
can you help us
she's the actual
this?
expert here.
Sensory toys, things have textures, so it's it's just this. It's textures. Toys have different of textures. Just
okay. So this could be, I'm thinking like those balls that have all the little like things jutting out of them, like points, and maybe some like the fidget toys, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like this. You can print with different materials, so you can have
Okay.
different textures. Like if you use different infills, you can have different textures if you don't close the thing you print. Like you don't make the
Yes.
top bottom, okay? So you can have different infills. This try to different textures, and so it's a sensory toy. It's like this.
So
in
I
3D
don't know
printing.
of any specifically. Do you happen to know of any kind of open source downloadable models that would fit that, Tainara?
I really don't know. I create one, but I never put in the Thingiverse thing, but I
Well, I mean,
never see
I think it's a
something like
great
this.
idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to this list I've been collecting of things that we want to sort of, as we try to broaden our catalog here, which we're working with the NIH to do. Let's see what we can find for sensory toys. I'm sure we can find some things probably already on Thingiverse, and we can include those if
Yeah.
they're open source. So I'll add that to my list. I think it's a great idea. Sarah, I wonder if I could ask for your help in responding to him, just to let him know that we don't have anything right now, but we love the idea and we're going to work on finding things to add to the catalog.
Of course. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so next up we have Joe. Let's see, we did meet two difficult cases. For both, we may start with a Phoenix hand because these fingers do operate easily. Later on, maybe change over to the kinetic hand. The boy has a very short residual left from his forearm. We may choose now for a short cover to practice and lengthening it later on. For the girl, we may open the palm to get the hands to fit. We're interested in how to approach both cases. Are there ideas? Okay, so here's a photo. I think this would be the boy that he mentioned. And this would be the girl that he mentioned. Challenging cases indeed. This one looks to me like it could work with an arm design. It seems like there would be enough past the elbow to operate one of the arm designs. What, anyone else here have thoughts on that?
Shag Lu and I worked on a socket for that anatomy, and she did a dissertation on it. And we can find that, but it's a good job for a prosthetist. It's a tricky maneuver because you're capturing the elbow.
And John, I didn't recognize the name. Did you say Chad Lu?
Chang,
Chang Lu.
the student.
I do recognize that name. Okay.
Right.
I wonder, okay, so I know you're busy, John.
I can find the background.
Yeah, if you could, what's the best way to, I know you're in the car there. Maybe Sarah, could I ask you to help me with a follow-up by sending the link to this post over to John so that he can then follow up on it?
Yeah, of course. I'll do that now.
Thank you very much. And Tainara, did you have a comment there on that one?
This is a difficult case because it's very short.
Yes.
And it's difficult because if you use a prosthesis, like activates like from here, because it's the ideal for this case, it's difficult to have acceptance. So it's sometimes it's what I think. Sometimes it's useful if we teach people to use the amputee part, not a prosthesis, but the amputee part sometimes. Okay. We had this case here in Brazil, and I create a lot of things for the kid without 3D printing, just things for the kid can eat, can make her hair and everything, and can use the computer with the mouth, with let's see, like this and everything. So sometimes you just need to give another choice.
So these might be things made with like elastic straps and things like that, just non 3D printed material. Okay.
Yeah, you can create with 3D printing, but sometimes if you don't have a 3D printed one, you can create with what you have in your house.
Okay. So like it sounds like, and this is something we often come back to, it really should be about, what does the individual hope to be able to do that they're having trouble doing right now, and focus on those specific use cases. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you. Does anyone have any thoughts on on this, another challenging case. Definitely doesn't look like any of our standard designs would work well for this anatomy. I mean, I guess we fall back on our default that we just really would love to see a prosthetist involved, or, you know, a professional that could advise and help with maybe doing something custom. I don't know that there's anything within our volunteer community that would really effectively address this.
I think that's right.
Okay. So let's, I'll ask for your help again then, Sarah, to just to maybe link to this part of our discussion as we sometimes do. And there are some videos here. I'm not going to play those right now, but, oh, and I didn't even scroll down to see the comments. And I think it looks like Eric is agreeing with us that there's not any current e-NABLE designs. He mentions a shoulder harness, but Tainara had some important comments about what we should watch out for with that. Sandra, definitely not the easiest. For the girl, I would try a phoenix hand and make openings to accommodate for her fingers. Possibly. That seems like a stretch, but maybe. And Jack, let's see. So we got two people talking about using the Kwawu with a shoulder activation, like a shoulder strap for the boy, but I definitely think that we should share this segment of our recording so they can hear the comments that Tainara offered. And somebody mentioned the koala arm sleeve, which I think, John, you know about. I don't know if I do.
We talked about that a little bit, Jeremy. That's a koala.
No, I know I'm aware of their devices. I just don't know that I'm familiar specifically with the arm sleeve.
Oh, gotcha.
So
I think that's the I think that's the primary thing they offer, but maybe my understanding is a little bit too simplistic. But that's really just the fixation mechanism.
got
Is
it.
that
Okay,
soft sleeve?
I see. So maybe I'm just used to seeing it on a
Right.
sort of a wrist level amputation, but
Yeah,
maybe
that I
work.
believe they use that in the place of a socket for a typical device, or like the the brace component
Got it. Got it.
that we use in our designs.
Okay, well, so we'll just share a link to this portion of the recording. I don't know how helpful it'll be, but it'll give a little bit more perspective. And then last one we have here is Louisa. Need a little help, please. Finally managed to finish an unlimited arm. And today we had the first of hitting with the recipient. He's having a hard time moving the arm, probably because his residual limb is too short. He's not enough strength to move it as it should. I was wondering if there's some kind of socket adaptation for short limbs to help with the leverage. So this actually sounds similar to the boy in the previous post that we looked at. I found a radial conductor designed by Nate Monroe and Lorenzo Lopez, but apparently it's for the Kwawu arm. Can it be used for the unlimited arm? And let's see, I'll play this because it's only 5 seconds. Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. He's able to move it. But yeah, I see it looks like the limb just barely goes past the Velcro there.
I mean, to me, it looked like the arm was too long, but that could just be a matter of perspective.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to get a gauge on that, but it looks that way to me too. Like that forearm portion might just need to be shortened somewhat, and that would help because of course the leverage of the weight being out on the end. It's going to be
I think somebody mentioned in the comments there that the cables might be placed in the wrong location, or something about changing the angle of attachment to improve that the force acting on that lever arm.
Is this what you're referring to? This? Oh no, that's talking about the Velcro. Okay. We made a pull over in the upper cuff to get more finger grasp for a smaller bending in the elbow. We also designed a system for using the left arm to actuate the right unlimited arm as a cuff under the armpit. Okay, so that's something different, and they're sharing drawings.
And I think that goes back to what Tainara was referring to earlier about actual wear compliance. And the more complicated it gets to get something on and use, then the lower likelihood they're going to use it is.
Well, I mean, I would agree, Adam. I mean, the easiest thing that this volunteer could try would seem to be shortening the forearm component a little bit. And that might make it easier to move with his existing configuration. It's at least worth a try because it doesn't require doing a whole lot other than printing that forearm part differently and then reassembling.
Here I had a case like this in Brazil, and I put I don't know the name in English, but neoprene. I don't know if it's the same name.
Neoprene,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
Okay. I put this in the biceps and here, like to hold like this.
Yeah.
So it's more comfortable and don't slip. Like, I don't know if it's a choice.
Yeah.
Don't work so well, but it's a choice.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's hard to see from this angle, but just looking through
Yeah.
the slots there, I'm not seeing any sign that there's any kind of foam padding inside there.
Yeah. I will send you a picture for you later.
Great. Actually, let's put, I'm going to put, Sarah, if you don't mind, I'm going to put your email address in the chat because I think it would make more sense for you to send that to Sarah and she can help us to follow up on this post.
Of course. Yeah.
So thank you for that, Tainara. Okay, so let's move on then. Some challenging cases. I do hope they'll be able to find help, but I think this just really strengthens the case for what we're going to be talking about today, which is getting more plugged in with the clinical community and getting more professionals involved to help with these challenging cases. So let's just go through a couple of these things, then we'll get to that. Chapter leaders meeting is the next one coming up on the 15th, I believe.
Yes, it is the 15th.
Okay, so yep, that's the next one. And hopefully we'll get a May calendar out soon with the rest of the May events. For now, we'll move on. And I wanted to leave pretty much today's entire discussion available to talk with Tainara, but I do want to just touch on one thing first, because as I said, we finally have progress on the Azure situation. I finally got a hold of somebody and he's actually been very helpful. He's connected me with different teams within Azure. They have already successfully tied the grant money that we've had this $3,500 a year grant for the last 3 years, but it was never being applied to our account, which I didn't even realize until way too late. They've just been billing my credit card the whole time. So they finally have at least applied the grant to our account so that going forward, it's going to be coming from the grant like it should. Finally. We've also made significant reduction in our resource utilization. So the way that our hosted systems, especially for e-NABLE Web Central, are configured, we pulled way back on the scaling of the virtual machine, fewer CPUs, less RAM, reduced the size of the database, and actually did testing. It's a little bit slower, but I find it hardly even noticeable. And since that platform is going to be going away, once we have a replacement, that seemed like a perfectly acceptable solution to me. So we've reduced those resources enough that now our billing going forward should not exceed the amount of our grant. So we should be
well done, Jeremy. That's
by the
great.
grant now. Yes. So that was an important change.
Fantastic.
And now
Hey,
the last
there.
remaining piece. Sorry, one more piece, Adam. The last remaining piece is we're now working with the Azure billing team to see if they might be able to get me a refund on some
That
of
was
what
my question.
should have been going to the grant for these past 3 years. I don't have any confirmation yet of what they can or can't do, but they are working with it, and I'm just waiting to hear back. So there's at
Good.
least hope for a partial refund coming as well.
Well, awesome. That's great, Jeremy.
Yeah. So I'll keep you guys posted, but I think we're at least set up the way we need to be for going forward. And as soon as we're able to get this new platform up and running for matching, then we're just going to shut down e-NABLE Web Central altogether, and that's going to even more significantly reduce our needs on Azure. So we should be covered by that grant amount. We'll just keep renewing it year after year, and we should not have to be out of pocket for Azure hosting at all going forward if we keep it set up right.
Woo!
Yeah, so good progress. Finally, I'll keep you posted on the last bit here about the refund. I have already been reimbursed from the e-NABLE fund for a portion of nothing close to what I've been billed, but a good chunk of that was reimbursed for the fund. If by chance they come back with a refund that exceeds the balance of what was out of pocket, then I will make sure to reimburse the e-NABLE fund. But that would require them doing a very large reimbursement for us to get to that point. But I have taken note of how much was reimbursed to me from the e-NABLE fund, and I will make sure that their refund is handled accordingly, depending on how much of a refund they offer. So I'll get back to you guys on that.
That's great, Jeremy. I'm glad that's not going to be hanging over your head anymore.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So thank you for letting me do that little sidetrack. And now I want to allow as much time as we need through the rest of this session to have this discussion that maybe Adam, you can introduce us to. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have already heard her speak, and she's been on a couple of calls before already, but I wanted to formally introduce y'all to Tainara. Tainara is an occupational therapist based in Brazil. She's also an avid 3D printer. She was really busy throughout the early days of COVID, designing and printing large numbers of components for face masks and visors and tools to assist healthcare professionals while she was still, I believe, working through her OT program. So she has a great mind for innovation. She works quite a lot, or has worked quite a lot, with amputees, particularly upper extremity amputees, in designing not only components for prosthetics components and complete devices, but also complementary devices to allow amputees and prosthesis users to more effectively use tools and objects in their day-to-day lives. Tainara has also been extremely helpful with the e-NABLE community already, designing and delivering presentations to our healthcare community last fall. She also did me a significant solid earlier this week in covering for me when I had a family emergency. I had a presentation scheduled on Wednesday with the Texas organization of allied health professionals, including medical students and nursing students and other groups at the University of Texas. She stepped in at the very last minute and gave an excellent presentation per the report of the event designers. And I just couldn't recommend her more highly. I would like to submit, and obviously Tainara should have a chance to speak, but I just wanted to, right at the top, submit that Tainara would be an excellent candidate to represent e-NABLE globally as our clinical coordinator or clinical director, or whatever terminology we want to land on, but in a role that would at least have as much weight as anything that I'm doing to more formally bring in more clinical professionals, and also to formalize procedures and recommendations for our community makers to have more of a patient-centric and data-driven bent to ensure that recipients are not only receiving devices, but are also coached and followed up on their care once the device has been delivered. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tainara. Hi, Tainara.
Hello there.
Hello. You're muted, Tainara.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the words. It's I'm kind oh sorry, I don't expect so much. So thank you. It's what Adam says. I did a lot of things here in Brazil for the last 4 years. I know e-NABLE when I finished my graduation, and I know your devices and everything you do, and I like it so much. But it's difficult to be from health people and understand better the engineer thing, because it's prosthesis and it's made by 3D printing and printers, and it's difficult to understand how it works. It's like I feel when I see the first prosthesis in my life, I like how does this happen, how it's possible a machine do that, and how it's possible someone can use like this. And it's the question about everyone who followed me have, how it worked, the prosthesis, what need to be, what need to do, and everything. And I start to study more about that. And I want to understand more 3D printer than everything because I think it's the most important thing. It's the clinical part, understand 3D printers, how it works, how it's possible to do things. And I start to create things like Adam said, this is something I create. It's a bottle cup just to grab better and don't sleep when the bottle. I made a video about that, but I forgot to put here, but I will send everything by mail for you. I sent to Adam. And I create, I have a presentation, I don't know if you want to see, but just a picture of someone using, I don't know.
Here, I stopped my screen share, so if you'd like to share your
Okay.
screen, you
Okay.
can now.
Just a minute. Let me just, okay. Screen, okay. Yeah, you have to approve my screen. Sure.
Oh, let's see. I thought I had. Oh, who can share? I see. Okay, I guess I changed that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. So you can see it's a bottle support, so it won't sleep like this. If you can see, it's
Oh,
a kid.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
it's possible.
smart.
Yeah, because the material sometimes, I know you have that thing here. I know you have this, but sometimes depends of the bottle, it doesn't work so well. I don't know how is the bottle there in United States, but here in Brazil, we have a lot of companies who make bottles, and sometimes it's different bottles and don't work so well. So this helps to give support to the kid can use the bottle better. So that's how it works. And this is just a kid. I teach her how to play with a toy. So
Now, is that the arm that you have on her? Is it staying, is the hand staying closed by itself, or is that because of her arm being bent?
yeah, she makes the movement.
Okay.
Yeah, I just teach her, but she have a very short amputee part, so it's difficult to her use the prosthesis. So she prefer don't use, but I try to teach her a
Okay.
little bit. I did this part here, cartilage
Oh,
thickener.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't make by 3D printing
Yeah,
because
it's just foam, right?
yeah, it's with thermoplastic.
Okay.
Because in this moment, I talk a lot with the person who's received the prosthesis, and I will make the form and I gave to her and say, it's more, a little more, or this is fine. And the kids say a little more, and I make a little more. So she makes part of this, and I think it's very important. And
Yeah.
I make the meal too. So she can try to see if it works, and she can use the fork and the knife to it. Here, it's something simple. I don't make, I just buy. It's a rubber cup because it's better through this material if you use cups with water made by rubber, because don't sleeping. So this is just.
Wow. You know, what I love about this, Tainara, is we often, you know, we try to set expectations realistically when we're making a device for people. You know, we try to temper expectations and say, look, I mean, these are pretty basic devices. You can only do so much with them. But, you know, if we imagine our volunteers, instead of just delivering a Phoenix hand or an unlimited arm, if they would deliver the device along with some of these accessories that you're showing that will help them to get more out of that device, that is really you know, almost giving a package to them that includes all these task specific add-ons, if you will. I really like that idea.
Or if every person delivering a device had access to a member of the e-NABLE community who was, say, a designated clinical supervisor or something like that, who could accompany the delivery with, you know, video lessons and time set aside to explain how the devices could be integrated. I think that could increase compliance and efficacy tenfold.
Absolutely.
It also raises,
sorry, it also raises the possibility that um, other volunteers can work on the accessories as part of a team, so
That's
that
right.
it's not all about making sockets and prosthetics. It's also about making the accessories and being available.
That's right. And just like the assistive tech programs that we're getting going now, a lot of these things don't require as much customization. So you can just produce them and have kind of a stockpile of these add-on devices, and they'd be available for others in the community as needed.
And imagine if we had a coordinated plan with every device that was given,
I
with
like it.
follow-up and functional metrics taken, and yeah.
I think the
Okay, sorry to
biggest
jump in there,
problem.
Tainara. We just get excited.
No, I understand. I understand. I think the biggest problem in prosthesis made by everyone, it's because everyone think they can do this. Because yes, I can do from my home a 3D prosthesis. I can do, but I don't know how to teach the people to use, so they don't use. Because sometimes I born without my hand, and it's like I was born. I know how to live without my hand. And if you give something for me, I need to learn how to use it because it's new for me. It's
Yeah.
not how I was born. If I lost my hand in my life before years, it's different because I lost my hand and I used the hand, and now I don't have this hand, and now I have something don't work like my hand. So it's really different. And I think the most problem we have with 3D printers, it's the most people who use, it's not people of the health area. It's
You're right.
engineers, if robustists, and they just see this and they think, oh, I can save the world. And it's not like this because it's a health thing. So you need someone from health to help you. So I think this is the most problem, and this is what I try to do here in Brazil. I like to presentate like, yeah, I can do the processes, but I can do more than this, not just this. The process is not the final thing. It's just the middle thing, like this.
You're right. And Tainara, I think you just identified the challenging situation that we find ourselves in. It's one of those chicken and the egg things, because I think that's why the medical community has been so hesitant to engage with us, because they see us as a bunch of amateurs that think we can actually do this when we can't. We need their help.
Yeah.
And so, having somebody who herself is a medical professional helping us to connect with them, I think could be really powerful.
Yeah, I think too. And here is just to, you see, this is the kid that talked to you. She lost her hand when she had 8 years old, and she came to me with 10 years old, but it's really short. So I make this for her with thermoplastic, and it was difficult because I need to think something she can put herself to be independent. So this is what I do. She eat with the amputee part before, and I create these things here. This was, let me just use my pen. This thing here was printed.
Okay.
Just to say nothing was printed. This thing here was printed, so she can use the amputee part to use the computer like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was printed. And this pen my uncle gave to me. So this is what I talk about. I don't need the prosthesis sometimes. I can give. Sometimes people want the prosthesis to out of the street, like to be acceptance by the society. So sometimes it's just this. So to be useful, I can do a lot of things without the 3D printing or with 3D printing. I just need how to use. It's just like this. So this is the presentation I gave, and I put this, it's for everyone, I think, not just health professional, but everyone. What do I need to understand? It's technology are not for everyone. Some people can adapt and some can't. And I can help in this process. Sometimes this 3D printing is just something very cool, but it's not useful. We need to understand the materials and manufacturing process to be able to assist more clearly So I need to understand if something printed, it's good or not. It was well printed or not. It's fine or not. And because sometimes I just receive and for me it's fine, but it's really fine or can be better. And you need to able to talk to all interested areas from the product to the receiver to see if it's fine, it works, if something can be changed. And
You know,
this is what my
Tainara,
presentation.
I'm just so excited talking about all that because you have the experience in the language that I know about, but I don't have the, you know, the direct hands-on experience that you have over the years, and just that you're able to speak to that you're straddling the clinical side and the expertise in printing itself. I think that you are one of the only people out there who really could speak to these things. And I think we're so lucky that you joined the community in the first place and that we were able to connect. The one point I wanted to raise is that I think that you're right on in that there are a lot of people in the e-NABLE community who are coming at this with nothing but good intentions, but they don't have the perspective to understand the clinical components that really impact whether or not this device they're going to craft is going to be efficacious, whether it's going to have any kind of functional impact on the recipient's lives. I think on the flip side, there are a lot of clinicians out there working with patients like this who know that 3D printing could help, but they don't know how to reach out or who to reach out to or how to make that happen. And I think that, you know, you could really connect those two sides. And that's where I see the real opportunity here, is not only coaching our own community, but also being a kind of go-between to establish relationships with clinicians, raise awareness about e-NABLE's potential and its capacity to you know, do this kind of rehab engineering work. And I don't know, just I think change some actual infrastructure, change the way that healthcare is delivered to people like this. I think this is incredibly exciting.
And I would just add to that, you know, there seem to me to be sort of two components to this potential initiative here. And one is forming those connections within the professional community. And the other is helping to document and establish guidelines and best practices for our volunteers so that they understand the importance of engaging with that professional community. And I find myself wondering if it might not even make sense to sort of, I mean, you can work on both, but it almost seems like getting some documented best practices and guidelines might even be the higher priority, because if we get that clearly, you know, onto our website, into the hub, you know, to our volunteers, this is how you need to be engaging with medical professionals. This is why you need to be working with medical professionals. Not only is it going to get them started thinking that way, but when we go to engage with those medical professionals and they see those materials, they see that that's already part of our training and part of our guidance. I think that would make them feel more comfortable.
You know, I know a consulting firm who would be thrilled to assist in developing those guidelines.
Good thought. Good thought,
All
Adam.
right, great.
I like it. It's all coming together. So
Yeah,
Tainara, how do you feel about this sort of potential role that Adam has talked about of helping us as a clinical coordinator for e-NABLE? I mean, it's not a, you know, it's not a small thing. I mean, how do you feel about getting involved in that kind of a role?
I'm a little afraid, not because the e-NABLE thing, but I don't trust myself sometimes because of my English part. And
English is great.
No, yeah, everyone say that, but I think it's lie. But yeah, everyone say I understand everything, but really you understand it. Just kidding. But I have afraid about this part, and I have a lot of work here in Brazil, but I really want some. The last year, I was in Germany giving classes to students there, and I see how much we need to spread the word, how it works. So I really want everyone to understand 3D printer like a possibility, not the final thing, but a thing I can have to do. If I don't have a 3D printer, I can create something and send to someone, and this someone can print it. So like this, and I just a little afraid because I need to organize my life. But it's
I get that.
I really want this for a long time because I really like your job, and I followed you for the last 4 years. So for me, it's like impossible to be here now, but now I'm here. I want to do things work. So thank you
Well,
for
One of the,
Tainara,
opportunity.
sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I just wanted to say that if you're worried about English or anything like that, I don't want you to worry about being thrown into the deep end like you were on Wednesday, just on your own. I would be very, just personally, I would be very happy to accompany you in like any meetings that are organized, discussions that are held. I'd be very happy to be there just in case
Oh my God,
you feel like you're getting in over your head.
The two of you would
but-
be such a powerhouse team.
I just think that there's so much more that could be done with a handful of people that can be done with 1,000 people or one person. And I don't know. I think that if you're on board, just having another clinical person, and let alone someone who actually knows what they're talking about. I just feel like personally, the stuff that I've been trying to explore, I just feel like there's a lot of there's so much more potential to actually get things done.
Yeah.
So-
Please, Adam, I can live without you.
I appreciate that.
It's all very exciting, and thanks so much for bringing Tainara to the table. And Tainara, thank you for joining us. The question for both of you is going to be, how can we support these efforts and maximize what you are willing and able to do, including willing. I don't want to overload you guys.
And
So
I
I'm
actually
really-
had a thought
Go ahead.
about that, John. If you do, you can go first, but I had an idea of how we might be able to approach that.
Good. So my real point is that we recognize the value that you're bringing us, and we know that you're both busy people. So
Right.
let's think about ways in which we can make it a rewarding and sustainable long-term relationship.
So we've already been having discussions recently about how much it makes sense that we should be thinking about paying or funding certain types of roles within the community, that it's just not realistic to look to volunteers to do. And some of that kind of bleeds over into the work that Adam is doing. He's been putting in a lot of hours, 15, 20-hour weeks on a volunteer basis. And while we're greatly appreciative of that, it's just not sustainable. So Adam and I had a great discussion the other day, and he very much wants to continue his volunteer role, which I get and I respect, but need to cut that back a little bit so that it's more sustainable in terms of the number of volunteer hours per week, and shift some of it over to a different scenario, which for Adam, we're approaching the possibility of doing something through a consulting firm that he's forming with a partner of his, so that it would be an engagement between e-NABLE and this consulting firm. And I think there's an opportunity to explore something similar here. And the thought that occurred to me is, when we have skilled people like Tainara, who I think the community would love to support, and if we were to put a proposal forward saying, hey, this is the work that we would like to do, and this is the initiative, and this is how we'd like to fund that, I'm pretty confident that the community would support that, as long as we have the funds there, which we do right now. I think the challenge with this is that the way our funding process works right now, the individual doing the initiative, doing the work, is expected to put forward the proposal. And I can already see, just by having gotten to know Tainara here a little bit, that she's the kind of person who's probably not going to feel comfortable putting together a proposal and asking for money. We as a team ought to think about the fact that the person doing the work doesn't need to be the one doing the proposal. We could come together as a group and we could write up a proposal saying, we would like to propose that Tainara take on this role and would be working on these things. And we propose that this kind of funding be allocated for this period of time. And it could just be something that we put forward and let the community vote on. I just wanted to put that out there as something to think about, that it doesn't have to be the person receiving the funds, being the one going and asking for the funds. I don't even know that that's always the best approach.
I
I
agree with
certainly
that.
second that.
I agree with that. I'm sure we can help. And by the way, there are AI systems that have suddenly made proposal writing much easier.
Oh, yeah.
So we can do that. But the question is going to be, what do we want the proposal to say? And that's going to have to come from conversations. We're starting that conversation now, but there's also, I also wanted to raise the possibility that either or both of you might want to keep an eye out for an intern or an assistant or someone, a number two, who can support what you're doing, but also learn about what you're doing, which of course is valuable in its own right.
And there's even another possibility as I think about this here. Adam and I, like I said, had a great discussion the other day, which Adam will fill you in on when the time is right. He wants to have some further discussion with his partner, Jason. But there's some great ideas being tossed around about what that initial consulting engagement might look like with their firm. And I wonder if there's not a way of actually tying this in with that proposal, where Tainara might be someone that you engage with through your consulting firm, Adam. And, maybe that gets, built into your proposal, and, there's funding going from your consulting firm to her instead of a separate proposal. I'm just tossing around ideas here, but there's some interesting ways that could be explored.
No, I think that, and just to, part the curtain a little bit, if Wildmont, our firm, if we are successfully engaged and we can find something that is amenable to the community for the kind of work that we've been talking about, Jeremy, I think that looping in and functioning in a support role to actually produce the things that Tainara is considering and work on, in brainstorming sessions, and then reaching out and executing and doing the work of networking.
That's right.
I think that sounds really sustainable.
I think so too. And not only that, but I think that if you could figure out a way to partner up with Tainara on this and incorporate the things we've talked about here in terms of not only the clinical outreach, but also the documentation of those best practices and guidelines, that adds a very concrete deliverable to your proposal that would, I think, really help to get the interest of the community, that they're actually getting something really valuable out of that paid engagement.
Yeah, I think Jason is someone that no one here has met yet, but I think we would be surprised at how quickly some things start getting done as soon as he gets involved.
Great.
So I'm very excited to see where this goes.
It is. It's all very exciting. And I hope you two will continue to talk and explore possibilities, but it certainly feels like it has a lot of potential. Well, this worked out just right. I mean, we're coming up on the end of our hour here. So let me just open things up here. First to Tainara. Is there anything else, Tainara, that you'd like to talk about or share with us?
No, just thank you, everyone. See
Thank you, Tainara.
Next week.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, next week, everyone, we are going to have to skip the town hall. I have an unavoidable scheduling conflict. I'm sorry for that. I will post a note in the hub next Friday morning to remind people that we won't be doing it, but we will regroup the following Friday. And I look forward to being able to talk more about this. That'll give us a couple of weeks to brainstorm and come up with some other ideas.
One quick programming note, Jeremy.
Yes.
We just on the subject of speakers, if you all want to do a little homework before what will likely be the next speaker engagement that I'm able to tie down, Chad Lehman is the director of innovation with an organization called Makers Making Change, which I believe most of the people on this call will have heard of. I might be looking at the calendar, Sarah, to find just a dedicated time slot for him outside of the town hall, so that he has plenty of time. He is he's just on fire. He is a really energetic, really intelligent dude, and is doing a lot of good up in Canada with the Neil Squire Foundation. And
Yeah, that sounds great. It could, if you want, we could also include Ian, and that could be great to have him as a guest speaker in the education and new members meeting in June.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
Good
perfect.
idea.
I'll have to check his calendar to make sure that works. But
And also,
yeah,
also because Ian and I are working together on the setting up the NIH 3D catalog, which hopefully will end up being kind of the master catalog of e-NABLE devices and all kinds of other assistive tech. That's another area that we could partner with them because a lot of their
maybe sensory toys too.
exactly. So it would definitely would be good to bring us all together.
Awesome. I'll float that. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything before we wrap up?
I'll just say that I do, as we're working this out, I'm thinking about the fact that we are due to go back to the DORA Foundation to see if we can get them to renew their the arrangement that we had with them for the last 3 years, which has expired, but they've indicated they're willing to talk.
Okay.
I suspect that with these initiatives that we're talking about, there are other potential backers as well. We're in the fortunate position that we don't have to wait for funding because we have money in the bank. But I do want to point out that DORA in particular focuses on handcraft, meaning the engagement of our volunteers in making devices. We've got lots of volunteers. To the extent that we can use this initiative to help engage them and help them up their game, that will probably be a good appeal to the DORA Foundation. And I would suggest that anyone starting a consulting firm is going to want to get good at looking out for potential contracts with funding organizations that want to support.
We talked about that, John, and
50
Adam.
item list ahead of you, John.
Yeah, the fundraising is going to be incorporated as part of the proposal that Adam is working on, and that would be one of the first things that they work on, because if we can bring in just what we've been talking about today and document, our plans, even if not the guidance itself, but our plans to establish recommended guidelines and best practices and to reach out and establish connections in the clinical community and all of that, that becomes part of those fundraising proposals, and I think creates a very compelling case for continued support.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we're on the same page.
That's great. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. And Sarah, if you'll just hang with me, we'll talk about a few other things.
Thanks, team.
See you all next time.
Oh, wait. I don't think we put it to a vote. Tainara joining on officially as the e-NABLE clinical coordinator.
I guess you're right. That is something that we should vote on, as long as, and you guys can use your thumbs up icons in Zoom, or you can turn your cameras on, but let's take a vote. I'm certainly in favor of it. I see a thumbs up there from Adam, and a yes from Sarah.
I'm working on it.
I think I can guess, but let's be sure. Unanimously approved. Wonderful.
Hooray.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone.
Congrats,
See you in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Nice
Bye-bye.
to see you, Tainara. Bye.
Pretty exciting stuff, huh?
Yeah.
How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing well. I think it's still live streaming, so
Thank you.
We
Yes,
should-
I should stop that.
Yeah.